This actually brings me on to my next question, which is for Georgia, for Fashion for Good. Georgia, you work closely with the industry to really kind of initiate positive change. What efforts have you seen in the fashion industry to help ensure that, you know, this making money but not actually reducing the amount of clothing bought sort of like doesn't happen?
Yeah, so we've seen that there is definitely the consumer appetite for these platforms, and we've even seen that this appetite has increased over the last 18 months. You know, you see the growth of Depop, ThreadUp, platforms like that, and we know the statistics show that resale, for example, is expected to grow 11 times faster than the broader clothing sector. In terms of brand commitments, though, we've seen mainly quantitative commitments around reducing overall footprint or moving towards net zero, rather than brands having X% of revenue from circular business models or circular services by, say, 2030. What we have seen, though, is an increase in the number of commitments to keeping a certain number of products in circulation for longer. So one of our partners, Zalando, for example, has committed that by 2023, they will extend the life of at least 50 million fashion products. Or another example is Adidas, who have committed to move towards circular services, building on their Infinite Play program, rental, re-commerce, as well as take back, looking to scale this across all of their markets by 2025. They've also committed to reducing carbon emissions per product by 15% by that time. We also saw that a lot of companies have signed up to the Global Fashion Agenda commitments, which touch on things like take back and resale and designing for durability. At the end of the day, given the size and growth of the peer-to-peer resale and rental market, it's really a missed opportunity for brands not to get involved. And what I would love to see is some brands starting to make those quantitative commitments to having a certain percentage of their revenue from circular business models in the coming years.
You have brought resale into the mainstream and made it cool. So given that there's so much momentum around circular business models and fashion at the moment, what's next for Depop?
I think to what resonates with what Georgia was saying earlier is the momentum in the fashion industry around circular and alternative business models, and we're incredibly happy to see this happening and keen to nurture it and help and collaborate as much as possible. So one of the things that we want to keep doing and do more is to work with others and shed the light on the practices and the brands that we like and go in the right direction, because we have a big platform. As I said, we have millions of users. So we want to be intentional in how we harness that platform. So, for instance, we recently this week we've launched a partnership with Levi's in Australia and New Zealand to offer some of our sellers the opportunity to work with Levi's to upcycle some Levi's pieces and sell that to the community. And those are the type of things that we love doing. We've also partnered with other players across the value chain. So we worked recently with her because we believe rental and resale both have a role to play in this. So how do we offer another end-of-life solution for pieces that have reached the end of their rental lives? And we've also supported a business that I really love, which is called Sojo, which is a repair and alteration app. So again, exploring how can we collaborate, because we think that circular fashion there is no silver bullet for it. So supporting across the value chain is something that we strongly believe in.
Brilliant. Thank you, Justine. Georgia, I wanted to come back to you and just ask, what are some of the sort of external factors that can further help innovators such as Depop and those also in your cohort grasp the most, I guess, economic and environmental benefits from circular business models?
Harnessing the existing products that we have to generate this new value, whilst also having that creativity, I think is something that's really exciting, particularly if we think outside of just rental and re-commerce, all of these other opportunities that sit under this banner of circular business models. In terms of what would help innovators and companies like Depop, I think there's two main external factors. One are the brands, and the second is government regulation and policy. So starting with the first one, it's important that brands, when they're at the start of their journey, to take the time to really understand what their strategic priorities are, what internal capabilities they have, and who they want to partner with. I think it's also really important that all the relevant departments are involved at the start of the journey. You need marketing, e-com, merchandising, as well as the sustainability teams if you really want to make it a success. So that's on a brand perspective. That's just a couple of the things that we've identified. And then we also see from a tax and regulation and policy perspective that this plays a big role in the agility and success of the different business models. Thinking about the growth of extended producer responsibility and the impact that's likely going to have on a lot of brands operating in Europe, or how we can capitalize on initiatives like the one that's been brought in Sweden, where they want to lower taxes for those who repair. The work that you do at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, I know, also looks into policy, and I think that it plays a really important role on accelerating brands' movement in this space by making it financially viable and also attractive for them to set up these business models within their existing organizations.